Tony, I just want to say thank you for joining us today to have a little bit of a chat about ESG. Now, environment, social governance. Yes, we'll talk about environment. Everyone's talking about governance, but with the pandemic, I see all the hard work you're doing with your All-Stars. I really like to focus on social because at the end of the day, people are having difficulty. They're at home, livelihoods. There's a lot of mental stress. And there's a lot of effort that you're putting in personally, as well as AirAsia, to get your All-Stars back on track. And I'd like to just share it and have a bit of a conversation around that.
Yeah, thanks, Omar. Thanks for having us on and for showing an interest in what is an incredibly tough time for us at AirAsia and how we're trying to pivot and how we're trying to look after our staff. Obviously, we haven't effectively flown for about 17 months. And my number one job, as I've kept saying consistently, is to keep people employed. Now we haven't been able fully to do that. We've lost about 2,000 staff, and we've had various furlough schemes, etc. But before I retire, I want to make sure everyone has come back, because they did nothing wrong. This is purely a virus that has caused an immense upheaval in industry. But so what are we trying to do? At the moment, we pivoted our business into this digital world, of which we always were in the digital world. We're the first airline to use the internet to sell tickets. And we built an academy, which I think, this was done pre-COVID, actually. I had seen that many of our All-Stars were going to be out of a job in this fourth industrial revolution with the development of technology. And they were great staff. They were loyal to me. They'd been here for years and years and years. And so I didn't feel, because of the industrial revolution, we lose quality people. And so together with Google, we built Redbeat Academy, which is driven by Irene Omar, and she's done an amazing job. And we started reskilling a lot of our staff. I think that is a really important sustainable feature, your employment workforce, right? I mean, COVID has forced us into another direction, but we were a little bit ahead of the curve to say, here's a good workforce. And we've always been at the forefront of taking dispatch riders and making them pilots and cabin crew to engineers, etc. So I saw this huge upheaval coming with technology, and I didn't want to lose what I thought was a huge asset to AirAsia, loyalty and love of the brand. And so we started reskilling them, and we've got some huge successes of boys and girls who were check-in assistants who are now data scientists.
That's very, it's quite excellent. I mean, that whole data pool, and you hit the nail on the head, Tony. You're an early adopter of data, and now you're taking it forward. As you move forward, the real key, because I want to get back flying, you want to get back flying. What is the path back to the air, if you would?
Yeah.
Your mind.
Yeah. So
clearly it's got to be around testing. Is it pre-flight testing? Everyone's going to be asking that question.
Yeah. So I think I've been a big advocate of testing, and as you know, we are now getting into a realm of very fast testing. We have Tracy X in Singapore, where we're trying to help on the manufacturing side because supply is going to be an issue, and then there's breath sonics, etc. And then there's the swab test from your saliva. So we think testing is as important as the vaccine, because the vaccine will take time, right? So a combination of testing and vaccine. Obviously, vaccine is number one, and we're hoping very soon that certainly in Malaysia, those who are double vaccinated will soon be able to fly, and then I think the testing regime should be not a crazy regime. So I'm hoping that it's a cheap test, with using your breath, which can be up to between 5 and 10 seconds, and then sensible quarantine procedures. But for those who are vaccinated, we know pretty much that the viral load is very low. The transmission rates are low, so we're advocating no quarantine. But the reality is, we've had about 2 years of this, and I think people are fed up. And I think in the same way that you guys will do risk analysis, all of us as human beings will have to live with this virus, and we'll have to do some risk analysis and be wise about protecting yourself in the same way you did with HIV or you did with any other virus.
Yeah, I think you've really hit the nail on the head, Tony. I mean, this virus is not going away. It's going to be endemic. We have to be smart. We have to think about what we do, and people have to take responsibility for themselves. And they are. To be fair, I'm not saying they're not.
Yeah.
And it's really going to come down to testing and making sure there's, it's really, when we talk about it internally, a lot of our conversation is how to open up the economy.
Yeah.
How to get people, I mean, it's an abused phrase, normal, but clearly there's that path: vaccination, targeted testing.
Yeah.
And then, if need be, quarantine has to be targeted as well, so businesses can on and people begin to regain their confidence. I'm really expecting there, in my mind, that there's going to be talked about revenge purchase. I think people are going to be out there and trying to do.
I think we'll be one of the best beneficiaries of that. To be honest, people are desperate to get out, right? And so whether it's flying to Kuantan or flying to kangaroo land. And one more thing we haven't talked about is therapeutics. We're beginning to hear of pills and stuff that will cure COVID. Obviously, when AIDS came out, you didn't have a chance to survive. And just a side issue there. I think it's important, BURSA and companies such as ourselves. Sustainability is also sustainability of life, which is COVID, but other diseases. And at AirAsia, we've been very proactive in trying to get rid of the taboo of AIDS and to make sure many people die because they just don't want to admit social taboos. And so we've been very proactive in getting people to admit to it, not be humiliated, and to get treatment. And also mental health. A sustainable organization needs to have healthy minds. So we've invested a lot in mental health, and obviously through this period we've had to invest more as people have been out of a job or not being able to fly, etc. So we have 6 psychologists. We at AirAsia treat mental health as just like COVID, another disease. COVID affects your lungs, mental health affects your brain and your mind, but it's just another disease and it should not be taboo. So part of our sustainability efforts are also in terms of removing taboos and saying, you have to live. We provide gyms and back treatment and all that, but on social taboos, we're very, very upfront on that.
Yeah, no. I think the key thing, and I'm very mindful, was it an ounce prevention is a kind of cure?
Yeah.
And look at how we talk a lot about how we cure things. So clearly, vaccine is prevention, but when we now look at something such as HIV, you have to prevent it as best you can, but it's no longer this. There is people living good, as you quite rightly said, Matthew Johnson, people living good, productive lives, and we need to support people. I mean, that's the key as we go forward. Now,